Good afternoon, Hansdeep, and thanks for being with us in our first conference of the cycle on evaluation in hard-to-reach areas. For the participants, Mr. Hansdeep Khaira is Evaluation Officer in the Independent Office for Evaluation of IFED, and was the manager of the evaluation that will be presented today. So, Hansdeep, what have been the major challenges in undertaking this evaluation, and how the methodology that you applied, that you selected, helped you in overcoming this difficulty?
Good morning, Mark, and good morning to everyone. Before going into the details of the geospatial analysis, let me provide some background and the context that underpin it. We in the Independent Office of Evaluation undertake a number of different evaluations every year, of which impact evaluation is an important part. Now, we undertake one impact evaluation per year, and there are two main reasons why we undertake impact evaluation. One is to make use of robust methodologies and robust data techniques that will help us attribute the performance of the project to the project. But equally importantly, we undertake impact evaluation in order to be able to use innovations in our evaluations, innovative methodologies. In fact, it has been our director's vision and intent to continuously imbibe innovation in every impact evaluation we take. So yes, the endeavor to undertake geospatial analysis was born out of this culture of innovation. Now, in terms of this particular project, we decided to undertake geospatial analysis for a number of reasons. One, the interventions were ideal for this type of analysis. It was an agricultural support project that, amongst other things, provided funds for rehabilitating the dying and dysfunctional irrigation canals so that water could reach the farmers. The idea was that once water reached the farmers, they would increase their production either through an area expansion or increase in productivity, and therefore would increase their incomes by selling the surplus in the market. So using satellite data, we could see whether or not the production area had increased and to what extent, and whether the farms had become more dense. In other words, there had been more was being grown in the same area. So geospatial analysis was ideal for this. Now, second reason, importantly, was because we wanted to triangulate the results of the household survey that we were carrying out on the ground. We as evaluators often face this issue. In other words, we would like to have a methodology, another methodology that would back the data that we collect from one methodology, and therefore we would be more confident of our results. So that was the second reason for triangulating. And the third reason was, of course, to check the robustness of using geospatial analysis. In other words, whether this technology in the future, we could use it in far and difficult to reach areas. So piloting of this technology was another reason. And of course, importantly, we wanted to see whether we can use a technology that is very cost effective. Now, essentially, we use geospatial analysis in this particular evaluation, both for sampling and for data analysis. To start with, there were no baseline data available, they were not adequate, and there was no random assignment of beneficiaries. So we had to actually identify control groups right from the start. And we did this through the use of geospatial variables. In other words, we used satellite data to look at perhaps the average elevation of the village, its distance to the primary or secondary road, etc. And this is the way we were able to identify a control group using satellite data. Now, we also, after having collected the data through the survey, we also decided to triangulate the data, and we undertook a parallel analysis. More details of this analysis will follow in the presentation, so I will not delve deep into this. However, having said that, I would say that the results obtained through the ground, that is through the household survey and through undertaking geospatial analysis, were very similar. And we were very happy to see that. Both methods showed that agricultural area had expanded. And we also were able to look at not only the overall results, but also at more heterogeneous results in terms of the type of beneficiaries who would have benefited. So, in other words, it is important to note that although we were successful, there were certain important things that we needed to have to make this a success. One of which was having the coordinates on the ground. You have to have coordinates on the ground to be able to pinpoint the satellite to the area of your interest.
I think, Hansdeep, that you mentioned 4 points that are very important for this cycle of conference. The first is the fact that you had no baseline data. So the use of this methodology allowed you to reconstruct somehow the baseline data that were missing at the time of the evaluation. The second, the fact that you wanted to experiment whether a methodology as the one that you used is suitable to be used in hard-to-reach areas, and it's the second important point. Triangulation and the importance of having someone in the field in order to give you the coordinates of the plots of land that you wanted to observe. And then you mentioned cost effect. So coming to cost effectiveness, can you give us an idea of the cost of the use of this methodology, the inclusion of this methodology in the evaluation, and what type of skills you needed to be included in the evaluation team together with the evaluators?
Right. So the requirements for this analysis, this type of analysis, are of course an innovative spirit that is fostered by the management of the evaluation office. But it's also equally the ability as an evaluator to know the uses and limitations of technology, and therefore to be able to make full use of this particular methodology. Now, we as evaluators are not expected to have technical skills for undertaking geospatial analysis. So an expert in the use of satellite data is required. In our case, we used Google Earth, which is a freely available software. So we did not have to pay for acquisition of data, and so also you will not have to pay for acquisition of data using this. The only cost, therefore, would be the expert's fee. Now, in our case, we have a department called the Environment and Climate department that undertakes, that has experts to undertake. So we were able to use experts from that, from our in-house colleagues. However, I believe that evaluation officers can also collaborate with agencies that specialize in this field, and it is a win-win situation for all, because even such agencies are keen to gain experience and have their names associated with evaluation officers. For example, we recently undertook an impact geospatial analysis in Rwanda, for which we tied up with a Swiss company that did the work for us pro bono. So partnerships are key. Finally, one also requires a statistician, and you will see in the presentations that follow why this is the case.
My slide is about lessons learned. So what you have learned from this experience, and were you satisfied about the use of this methodology, and are you envisaging to use it even further? You already mentioned Rwanda, but I don't know what are your plans as IFAD to use or adapt the methodology to other contexts.
Definitely, we are very excited and content with the positive results that we obtained from Georgia. And as you mentioned, and as I have mentioned, that we have already used it in Rwanda. We have also used it in Mexico. So we are taking this technology, having been very excited about its potential, and using it in different parts of the world. For example, in Rwanda, we found that some of the areas were inaccessible because they were at higher altitude, so we could use that. We were able to use the technology. You could also visit our website to look at get more information on some of the impact evaluations that we've carried out, where we have used innovative methods. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hansdeep, for this video recording. And now let's move to the presenter here in the room that will continue the presentation of this very interesting evaluation. Thank you, Hansdeep.
Thank you very much. Thank you.